All right, let's call the meeting, the February 11th meeting of the Park Recreation and Community Education Commission. Mike, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we have any commissioner updates tonight?
I have none.
John, you won't, obviously.
No.
Mike?
Nope.
And I have none either. So if we want to move on to the acceptance of the minutes from the last meeting. All right, when everybody's ready, if you want to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve, accept minutes for the meeting on January 14th, 2020.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I do have one amendment. I take it back. I wasn't here. I thought some of it, so I think you, when it said CPC, you probably talked about, or in lieu of me, because you went to the meeting, no?
Yeah,
Felicia?
yep.
And
They don't
I think I did tell you it was 20%. I don't think there was a formal vote at this point,
Okay.
and we can talk about, I think it was proposed, to bump it up just by 1% to 21% for this coming up year.
I did talk to them about that at
Okay,
the last
yeah.
meeting. Okay.
Okay, but I was not here, I was
Okay.
absent. It was my birthday.
All right, so let's rescind the prior vote. And do we have a motion to accept the amended minutes, which will indicate Mike was not present?
Can I actually make a motion even though I wasn't here, or is that?
Yep, no, you don't have to attend the
Okay.
meeting to.
And I'll make a motion to accept the amended minutes for the meeting on January
Second.
14th.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Alicia, you want to talk about getting a credit card for Aaliyah?
Yes, I will, thank you. So, one of the processes that we go through with credit cards for the department is getting approval through the Park Commission. So that is something Leah Corbin has officially started the position as the Recreation and Sports Coordinator. So she is a position that most definitely needs to be able to have a credit card, simply for the fact of going on field trips and buying supplies, things like that. So all of that does get processed through me, like I have to approve all of that in Munis when we process the invoices. But just to let you know that that is something we would need that position to be able to have a credit card. So I'm requesting that the commissioners allow her to go through the process to obtain a department credit card.
Someone that held that position, it's a vital tool. You have to have it.
So in that position, you had it.
Have to have it.
Okay. I'm fine with it.
Okay, I'm on board,
You
Sean.
need a motion on it?
Yes,
We do.
please.
Okay. I make a motion to allow Alicia Corbin
Yeah.
to obtain a town credit card for the Park Recreation Community Education Department.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and now I believe we've got some alcohol license requests here.
Yes. Mr. Mahalski, you wanna take that one over, please?
Yeah, so, last year we went down the road of doing our first, alcohol permit request. So that was, Oktoberfest, and we worked closely with the sub shop and the police department. It was a very well attended as well as, very, smoothly operated event. I think all the parties would agree that we didn't have any issues. So what I wanted to put before you today was just what we have coming up. We do have our special events that are, almost over a year out now. So at this point, what we would be looking to do would be to get approval from the Park Commission, followed by, I do have a meeting with Sergeant Bussier tomorrow. I work with him to kind of lay out what we think we need for details for the special events. So that meeting's coming up this Thursday at 10 o'clock, at which point, I'm sure he'll take back to Matt and Jeff the information, and then we'll have further conversation before we actually go to the Board of Selectmen with any of the requests that we have. First is the easiest one, October 3rd, Fay Park, to do the Oktoberfest in the same respect that we did last year. The one that we had discussed doing last year that we never really got around to was Thursday nights down at Long Lake. So the objective was we hold our cornhole leagues down there on Thursday nights on the beach. It's a growing league. I believe last year we had, was it 12 teams in that particular?
13 maybe.
Yeah. It's a considerable number of people altogether. It's about 40 to 50 adults in the community who come out and do stuff. And what I was really looking at doing is not only growing that, but since we were already utilizing resources, having the league there to create more of a community night on Thursday nights. So start
At
off.
the beach.
Correct. So start off with the Cornhole League. James and the sub shop crew wanted to do a pop-up bar for the Cornhole League, but maybe even take it a step further and have some live music there, a campfire and a movie on Thursday nights, just to round that out. We were also looking at the idea of doing food trucks on Fridays, but the feedback that I've gotten so far is that, since a lot of people go away, Fridays are a flop. A lot of the food truck guys also take Fridays off after lunch to, get an early start on the weekends because they're prepping Sunday afternoons for Monday, busy work rush. So, we were looking at backing that into Thursday nights as well. So different food option, just kind of making it a full-on 6 weeks of just a fun community event that we do down there that ties in with the Cornhole League. So that would run from July 9th to it would be August 20th.
I do have one question.
Yep.
It's probably more specific to something like, having alcohol, on the beach, in the lake.
Yep.
What is the liability for the town for Park and Rec?
So it would be the
Because I assume
same.
there's no lifeguard, on duty or anything like that. You say there are large numbers of people, so.
Yep. So, as far as I think the two questions that you're asking are two different things. So,
Okay.
number one, the area that we utilize needs to be some sort of an enclosed area, and at which point the liability is under the liquor license of the sub shop. So they have the liability. There, obviously there's things that would kind of fall on it if there, anything were to happen. Anybody can kind of go after anybody when it comes down to it, but, for all intents and purposes, the licensing goes to the sub shop, not to the town, not to the Park and Rec department for that particular thing. As far as the alcohol is contained to one particular area, while, swimming and everything else is a completely different thing. And it just goes to, at 5:30 when the lifeguards go off duty, we make our spiel, we clear the water, we clear the beach, and, at that point, it's stated on all of our signage, it's stated in the spiel, from that point on, it's swim at your own risk.
So, in theory, if somebody gets entirely inebriated, leaves the area, goes off and swims and has an accident, then there's no culpability in the town, Park and Rec?
So the point of having the sub shop come in, or of us having a liquor license at all, means they have rules that they have to enforce. No one should be getting obliterated. That is an absolute, like, no, that's not the intent of having this. It's, if you wanna go down and have like a drink, maybe two, it depends on how long you're gonna be there, eating food, things like that. But that's not the purpose. If that happens, that somebody gets it that inebriated, then they are not doing their job as being tip certified, in my opinion. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and that's why you have the tip certification. That's why, you know, depending on what the decision's made between us and the police department, you know, we have officers there who can actually intervene as well, so.
So there will be an officer.
I don't know that at this point. So
They usually
I'm gonna-
are though, right, for those?
Well, we had it for Oktoberfest, and I think that was a little different. That, you know, that was an event.
Well, that's
that could
why I'm
be-
saying it, you know, you had an officer, that's why I was asking more
We had
specific
four.
about this.
So
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It was, yeah.
Yep.
So the
That's
point
why I
is.
prefaced
So
it
this
with,
seems like a different animal, that's why I'm asking.
So Tim is meeting with the police. So the point of going through this process is that you, as the park commission, has to approve that it's okay to have alcohol on the premises at these events. Then Tim will go talk to the police department, and the police will decide. We do what they tell us. If they tell us that there has to be a detail at this thing, then there'll have to be a detail at this thing. That's the way it works. So we follow whatever their, you know, decisions are, and that's how we go through it. And then, once we have the permission of the park commission, we've gone through and discussed with the police department, then we will go to the board of selectmen to ask for
Okay.
approval of the
Yeah.
liquor license.
Yeah, I'm probably getting ahead. My understanding is this is just a general approval, but for every event that we have, we're gonna have a more, right? Is that correct? Or is it,
no, so
if we give this approval, are we saying pretty much any event?
No, you're approving
you're
these
approving
events
these
exactly
events
what
that
we're
I'm
Voting
asking.
on these two specific events. There's a page in here that's got the,
it's these, yeah, it's not like a sweeping, we can do whatever we want. We're saying these, and, you know.
So it's Thursdays, July 9th to August 20, you have the 27th here, but did you say the 20th?
Right, because we need a rain date built in.
Okay.
So it's essentially 8 Thursdays over the
Right.
course of the summer.
And October 3rd for the October events.
Correct.
And the reason that we're, you know, obviously it goes before you, so we have this conversation, but you guys have care and custody of the property, so you have to, you know, say yay or nay before we take this anywhere else.
Right.
Ultimately, it will end up in front of the Board of Selectmen, who will approve or not approve the.
One-day
the
liquor license.
James's one-day liquor license.
how much lead time do we need from, not necessarily for these events, but for other events that might come up?
I mean, really, it's, if it's on the property, one of the property that falls under Park Commission, it would be getting approval on a Tuesday night meeting from here and making it to the next Board of Selectmen meeting on a Monday somewhere else.
Fair enough.
So that can be, depending on what the schedules look like and if we can get on certain agendas and fit, it's, you know, it could be as quickly as 2 weeks. I would say that's probably the shortest turnaround. But, you know, it
Not
could,
likely.
you know, Oktoberfest, from the meetings and everything we had, we started that in June and I think we finished it in September. Right? Because I think we had exactly a month from the point that we got the approval to market and host the event.
And that's the other piece that is kind of missing out of this too, is the being able to market things, get the word out to the community, all of those pieces.
You know, I'm fine with the Oktoberfest. I thought it was really well run. I'd like to have more details on Long Lake before. You know, I'd like to hear back, you know, from, you know, what, you know, Sergeant Ed feels about it.
Can you clarify what it is
Well-
that you're looking for?
Well, like, do they want a detail, you know?
Okay.
I also, you know, so personally, I think having alcohol, you know, You know, on a beach, you know, you have to, I'd like to know the setup a little bit more, you know, what happens if people decide they're gonna take the alcohol out of the area?
They cannot.
What's
They'll
gonna
get
stop
arrested.
them?
The-
If there's no detail there,
Then we call the police.
are you gonna be there? Oh,
I will be there.
Okay,
So, yeah, I
Okay,
think
those are the
you're
guys.
It's
reading
not-
into it a little bit
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
than we should
there's
be,
there's
but,
staff that's
Yeah.
there, if that's what you're concerned about.
like, again, they're tip certified staff. That is their
Okay.
responsibility, is
So-
to say like, whoa, Mike, you've had too much, or no, I'm not going to serve you anymore.
So to clarify a little bit, Tim, let's look at Long Lake. If the police department decides they want a detail there, you're not gonna get the permit approved unless you have the detail set up for that, correct? Right? So
More than likely.
you're not gonna get the permit
so we had,
approved if you're not following the guidelines that are given to you?
I would expect the board of
Yeah,
selectmen
I
to
mean-
follow through with that.
Right,
yeah.
right, no, what I'm
Yeah.
getting at is that if the police department says, you need this or you don't,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna be sort of contingent upon what we present to the selectmen.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because that's what we went through with the Oktoberfest
Right,
last year.
no, I
was,
just
you know,
wanted to
how
make
many,
sure
And I
that-
think we ended up with 4, because we had 2 crossing and then 2 that were just kind of, one was at the tent, and then the other person was just kind of walking around, just kind of seeing what was going on.
I think it was determined after the fact that it was good to have it ahead of time, but it was too much, like in debriefing after the fact, was that right? Too many?
I don't know that anybody necessarily thought it was too much.
Okay.
I think it'd go either way. I think the event's gonna definitely grow in size this year.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Just from the sheer just word of mouth, because it was a really good event. The weather, I mean, made it. And so,
Yeah.
you know, we really had some good stuff going on. So, yeah, I think you never know, and obviously, you know, we're here to work with everyone in the community and make everybody feel as comfortable as possible. So, it's just, yeah, we'll go with whatever's asked of us.
But more to address Mike's concerns, that when we do something at the beach, we're gonna be following the protocols of the other professionals involved, as opposed to us determining whether there's a detail or not.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Do we have any other further discussion?
I'm not sure why we have to rush on this and that we can't get more details from Sergeant Ed about this, as well as.
Nobody's asking you to rush on it.
Yeah.
We're just talking about it.
Yeah, well, it says here, request for approval for these special events, and
It's,
So request for approval
Words
is
on
just
paper.
that. You can say, we're gonna table it to next month. We're
Okay.
gonna,
Okay.
that's, the
Okay.
point of us coming to the meeting is that
Yep.
we're requesting for
Yep.
approval, but
Yep. Yep.
you can
Yep.
always delay it.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable finding out how he feels about it.
well, it's not, so let's just be clear, it's not just Ed who's making this. This is, you know, Ed's gonna go back and talk to Jeff and Matt, and then
Yep.
we're gonna have a bigger conversation, so just, you know, so you know the whole avenue that this is gonna go through. This isn't, we're gonna sit down at 10 o'clock and Thursday and make these decisions.
Yeah.
So there's a whole process that goes behind this before it ever gets to the point that, you know,
Sure. I'd like to know their thoughts.
All right, so I'm guessing
It's up to you as
Do
a
we-
commission. Yeah.
you guys want to table this for 1 month? Or
I don't see
do you-
why we can't get more details.
Do you anticipate on having anything further in a month from now that would be of any value or anything additional?
so the only additional information I'll have is just, you know, what if any requirements that the police department has. That would be the only, you know, the only other piece. And then it's still just asking, you know, just the approval to,
Yeah.
for the spot.
I'd also like to ask, you know, questions like the parking. You know, again, and, you know, I don't know if we can actually say we're not. I really would feel, you know, what happens once they leave, you know, once they leave whatever that enclosed area. Are we saying that the town does not have any
But isn't that the same situation no matter where it is? If somebody leaves Oktoberfest,
Yeah,
you're the
but
same?
if there's a police detail, there, like you said, there were 4,
So
you know.
I'm fine
Smaller
bringing
numbers.
And
whatever
it's during,
information.
and it's during the day, you have something here where you're gonna have, a beach, campfire, movie at night, so.
And once again, we can get this information, bring it back to you.
Yep.
It's not
Yep.
something that it has to go tonight.
Yep. I just like more details, that's all.
No, based on that, my only question would be, if they come back and say they don't want a detail, are you gonna have a problem with that? Because we're not talking about the specifics here, we're talking about the general theory of having.
Then I'd also like to know, possibly from town council, what is the liability of the town? Now, maybe that's the purview of the Board of Selectmen to ask that question?
Okay, I just want to make sure that we at least move forward in some manner. that-
So, Mike,
Let me look at it from a,
So
let me say it from a different angle. We don't allow alcohol at the beach, do we? Right now, currently? You can't
Well,
have
we
alcohol.
can't have, we have the liquor licenses
That's
for
what we're
those
doing right now.
purposes. That's
So
why the-
we went through a whole process starting 2 Julys ago, where the town bylaw was changed and a thing was put in place. And I can resend you the document that I sent you last year before we did the Oktoberfest. And you can read all of the information in that same document that you had last year that tells you all of this information. And then if you have questions, why don't you send me an email so I can get you exactly the answers that you're looking for? Because it is something that was sent to you last year before we started doing all of this. It's like a 7-page document, has exactly how to do it, all the rules, everything else that's involved in that,
Sure, send it to me.
And the liability, right?
and the liability.
That's your worry. I
Yeah.
hear
So
you
you're
on
saying
that.
the town council went through that? Or-
It
Yeah.
went
The
through
state attorney
bylaw
general,
at your town
the state
meeting.
attorney
Okay.
general
Okay.
changed the bylaw.
Okay.
So it made it all the way up.
The difference for me is it's at a beach,
Yep.
okay? So,
I think getting more
Like I said,
information is cool. think
I
that's
said,
fine.
if you need more information, we can get you more information. I don't think there's any reason to drag it out any further.
Yeah, why don't you just get us a summary for the next meeting, Tim?
Yep.
An executive summary of what your discussion is, and then we can,
Yep,
we'll table it
absolutely.
until the next meeting then.
And I will re-forward that information and just take the time to go through it and read it so that you have some
okay.
questions on it. We can hopefully go through that as well.
All right. All right, and this is the last night of cornhole, so Tim, you want to give us an update on your
Yeah, we actually, I have to go to the.
On what, I'm sorry?
Hmm?
On what, I'm sorry?
Oh, the statistically valid survey.
Yeah,
I can't
so
say that.
unfortunately, we haven't really gotten a chance to move forward on that. I've been really bogged down trying to get some other stuff going. I have had one of the companies send me a list of questions that they wanted before they would move forward with giving a quote, specifically just some more qualifying information on our demographic and specifically what we're looking. Are we looking for more information on trying to fix our parks? Are we looking for a community center? What questions are they gonna ask to get us the data that we're expecting? So as far as that is, along with that, they sent me like a 200-page document of just kind of their whole entire outfit and what, the different avenues and kind of what they can do for us, which I have not had a chance to dive into anymore. So I will get that put together, and it's probably going to be a pretty lengthy discussion next month to hopefully pick a company to do that. But I really just haven't had time to focus on buttoning that up for you guys, and I apologize for that.
Fair enough.
I just want to clarify, just because the way that you phrased that sounded a little odd. So we are clarifying with them what topics we want to find data on, and they create the questions. So whatever the results come back, or whatever the results, the point of doing the statistically valid survey is so that it's non-biased. Like, we don't have anything to do with it. We just say, we would like to get more information on these topics. They create the questions and we get the results back. So it didn't sound quite like what you were saying. So I just want to clarify that. Okay.
All right, discussion on renaming 300 King Street.
So this, again, I just want to revisit this because we had this on here like a year
I have to go,
ago.
I'm sorry.
Okay, and then just kind of like whoop, went past it and moved on. So I just want to come back to it just for a couple of purposes. So the current park name is just 300 King Street, which is the address, right? So, I mean, and folks don't even, call it 300 King Street. When we say that at the office, they say, where? So then we respond, Castle in the Trees, and then they're like, oh, okay, which is the playground inside the park. So, we've had this discussion about really, if we want to create that connection back to the history here in town, there's different ways that we can do that. And so at 300 King, one of the ways that we can do that is if we went with the name Torrey Park, because the Torrey House used to be on that property. So I'm not asking tonight for us to make any votes on that whatsoever. What I was curious about in this discussion is there interest in this possibility of renaming 300 King Torrey Park? Because if you guys have some interest in that or intrigued by the concept of it, I will move forward working with like the Historical Society and see if we can come up with a presentation, that kind of thing. But if you hear that and you're automatically like, meh, not that interested, then I'm not gonna waste my time. So that was just something I wanted to see where you guys were thinking about that. Because like I said, we brought it up a year ago and it just kind of like was done and over with. So what do you think? Yay, nay?
All right, I'll speak.
Nope.
I think renaming it's a neat idea.
Okay.
But one, we should probably have more people from the
Correct.
commission here, and there might be some ways to do it, to
Get
get
the
the schools involved, get the community involved, the
involved, yeah.
historic commission. A contest, for example, where you want to pick something using names from Littleton history, something along those lines, for the
Okay.
younger kids. I'm not talking about, for adults, but I think there's probably some ways we could go.
Parky McPark face. Sorry.
All right. All right.
So did Castle and Trees get renamed Ada's Playground? Or is that a
No,
subset?
Aiden is the other playground that's there. So
Yeah.
Aiden was the original playground. That's for the younger kids.
Well, no, Aiden was the one that was added after
Added,
Castle
right.
in the Tree.
So that's not the entire park?
So, sorry, I'm thinking of like the rebuild.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yes, so the original Castle in the Trees, you're correct, that was before Aiden.
Yeah.
Aiden was put in after the fact because they were missing a like 5 and under playground. So that was, yeah.
So it's still called Castle in the Trees? Or-
The playground is called Castle in the Trees.
Yeah.
Aiden's playground is called Aiden's Playground,
Okay.
and the park itself is called 300 King.
Okay.
I thought you were looking like for 310 King Street, so that's why I was like that. All right, yeah, so why don't we can bring this up when we've got
I like
all-
the idea of
all-
getting
all the
more
So-
commission
involved.
here.
I'm not asking for a vote. What I'm asking for is there interest for me to do research working with the Historical Society to come up with a presentation because is that worth my time?
My opinion is no, not right now. No,
Okay.
in other words, let's talk amongst ourselves or as a group here about maybe some ways we could include the townspeople in
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then move on to the historical commission. You
Okay.
might want to reach out and just say, we're talking about this,
Mhm.
give them a heads up so it doesn't blindside them. But I think for now,
Yeah.
table it, let's have a discussion. We can have 5 minutes at the next meeting or when we have all the members here.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right. Your director's report.
Yeah. Give me 1 second to write this down here. Okay. All right, so just a quick rundown on a few things. So an update on fiscal year 2021. So I will make this as clear as I possibly can. So nothing, I mean, clearly this hasn't gone to town meeting, so nothing's set in stone. But as the FinCom and Board of Selectmen have discussed, this is sort of where, what they're expecting to put into the warrant for the next spring town meeting. So we will receive funding for the salary and benefits for the director and assistant director, so that will continue. We will get $40,000 through major capital, through capital for major equipment and repairs. So you guys might be thinking, why 40? It was 50 in the past. So I was asked through the finance department to separate out the utilities from this account line, because utilities are not typically covered through capital. That's something that we're really trying to fix the way that capital operates. So that was one of the big asks that the finance department had of me. So that, moving on to the next piece, so we'll have the $40,000 for the through capital for major equipment and repairs. And then we're gonna be adding in a line for utilities for $15,000. And that's gonna cover things at the facilities like electricity, water, porta potty rentals, tight tank pumping, trash removal, and any supplies related to those items for Long Lake, Fate Park, 300 King. So, you know, those are the things that we will get this year. So what we will not get this year, we will not get I asked for 30% coverage of the salary and benefits for the community education coordinator and the administrative assistant. We will not get $300,000 for Fate Park renovations. We will not get $175,000 for dog park creation. We will not get $275,000 for the extension of the parking lot at 300 King. And we will not get $1.5 million for the creation of a new field. So one thing that I want to keep you all aware of, because as your job as commissioners, you're kind of the political side of what we do. It does look like the Board of Selectmen and FinCom are going to move forward with the support of the library being funded inside the levy. So if that happens, capital funding will be severely decreased in long term until those debts have been paid off. So, you know, we're looking at something, Cheryl did a really great presentation at the Board of Selectmen meeting, so I don't remember what her exact numbers were, so I don't want to misquote that. But I believe it was something in the past years we've been able to pay out around like $2 million in capital. And in like 2 to 3 years, we're only gonna be able to do 200,000. So, you know, a lot of the departments are going to be kind of very much competing for the capital funds. And clearly, I mean, you can see the prices of some of the capital projects that we want to do. You know, we would have to take like the whole pot plus some. So that's just something to think about.
It just puts more of a, you know, notice on what we want to use CPC funds for. too.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? Because we're limited, we're not looking at increasing necessarily the input into CPC either. So.
Right, but I mean, one of the things, I know that we ended up putting a priority list out there, but it would be interesting, when push comes to shove, knowing that we won't have capital. Does that change things such as, you know, priority, you know, as far as Fate Park, you know, renovations? It's going to be difficult to look at a creation of a new field. It's going to take forever for CP funds to get to that point where we can afford that. But, you know, I'll pick the three, you know, what is your top three between Fate Park renovations, dog park creation, and extension of the parking lot at 300 King, you know? As it is right now, you know, you can make an argument, you know?
So the
I think
big
it's worth
point of us doing this statistically valid survey is to help
Correct.
assist you all make those
Yep,
decisions
yep,
in the future,
yep.
right?
So,
But that is something you can talk now. The vote has not been made, whether it's inside or outside the levy, so you can start having those conversations.
Mm.
That's all I will say about that. All right,
So I did have a couple of questions about what's not funded.
so let me finish this really quick.
Sure.
The other piece is that last year we received approximately a general fund transfer that was about 21% of our total budget. And the Board of Selectmen and FinCom have discussed their desire to freeze that number moving forward for us. So my opinion, and I've been clear on it, is that I don't necessarily agree with that, just for the fact that, you know, typical enterprise funds, which we are, have a community center, a golf course, or a swimming center that is what allows them to become sustainable. We have none of those three things. So that's the piece of, you know, we really would either need to have a facility like that in the future to be able to commit to that 20%, and we don't. So
So
that's the only
20
pushback that
So
I would have on that.
21% is, when you say freeze,
Mhm.
are we getting that 20% every year moving forward and it never increases, or are you saying we're not getting that?
So they would, I think, like us to be completely sustainable, 100% sustainable.
So
they
that
would give us
21%
0.
goes away?
So I don't think that's going to happen. So the reason that I say that is I know there was discussion over a percentage, and typically towns, cities give about 20% of the overall budget to the Parks and Rec Department. So they want it to be equal with what the average is.
Okay.
What I am saying is that we are not your average enterprise because we
Yep,
are
okay.
lacking
So what-
those facilities.
So you think we should have more than 20?
I think so, but
Yeah.
I'm only one person.
I gotcha.
So I've been clear about that, but, you know, at the end of the day, it really is up to the Board of Selectmen and FinCom to decide, you know, what they're going to give towards the budget from the general fund. And as far as this year, that is their decision, and it seems that moving forward, they may stick with that as well. Okay, questions? What you got?
So last year, did we receive 30% coverage of salary?
No, we did not. I asked for that.
Okay.
And that stems from, so I did my budget hearing meeting, and that was part of the budget hearing meeting, is that in 2016, we did that financial analysis, the cost analysis, you remember that? And they said that essentially we were 70% sustainable, and that we really needed the 30% from the town to kind of get us over that hump to, you know, make us get to a place where we had a reserve that we were comfortable enough that we could start moving forward to, like, our goal. We would love to be 100% sustainable. We would love to never ask for money at all. That would be, me personally, that would be my ultimate goal. I hope to goodness that, you know, within my career here that I'm able to do that. But the reality is that's not where we're at. So, you know, I'm a realistic person, and that's not where we are. We think that we're doing well and we're going to move towards that, but we're not there now.
The other question I had is, didn't we receive funding last year for field upkeep?
No,
Was it the year before?
no, we collect funds. Nope,
No.
we collect funds
Okay.
to do that,
I
yeah.
thought there was an additional that was transferred over.
Nope.
How much does that typically?
We transferred money out last year
Yeah,
to
they
help
took
highway because they didn't have
24,000.
enough money.
Yeah,
So,
so we gave highway $24,000 to do that.
and that was out of programming. That was, once
Right.
again, not money that was transferred out of the general fund coming from taxes. That was money
That
that
was
we
not
generated.
Out of general
That
fund.
was- Right,
That was out of our enterprise fund.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
You know, so that was something that Park and Rec, we generated that through programs that was never, you know,
Intended for that.
never intended for that, and it wasn't money that, you know, was able to be put back into the programs or facilities or anything else. And then, you know, obviously it wasn't ever given back either.
Right.
Are you all set?
No, I'm not. Thanks, Fred.
I make
we're-
a neck. Got a question.
We already talked about Aaliyah, and then just a couple of things I wanted you guys to be aware of. So, the spring and summer brochure for 2020 has been completed, and has been sent off to the printer. So we're expecting them in homes around Friday, February 21st?
Correct.
Okay. And then we will be working, and this is in your packet, so I wanted you to take a look at that. The last should be the first single flyer behind. Yep, there you go. So we're going to be working with Elder and Human Services to offer some programs that are going to be geared towards active seniors. So the funds for these programs are going to go directly into the Elder and Human Services revolving fund. So we're going to be working together with their staff to create staff and transport participants for these programs. So this is a really cool, exciting, step forward because we've been wanting to do this for quite some time. So, we're doing a senior adventures program, which is very similar to what our kids adventure is, similar in the style of what the program is. So, we will take folks out and lead them on like a guided hike. So maybe they'll go do birding one day. Maybe, we'll do maple sugar syruping. Something that's going to be all related to being in the outdoors, experiencing the outdoors. Could be like pioneer craft type of thing. So we really want to encourage, those seniors that have the time to want to be really active and, have that experience, just being outside with a group of other folks, like-minded folks. So that's one. And then the other one, I'll let Tim talk about it because he came up with this idea for the program. The Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Walkers. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're just gonna put together a group. So to this point, about a little over 14 miles of the rail trail has been completed. So what we'll do is we'll do like 1.5 miles, 2 miles a day, starting in Lowell, and then do a bag lunch. We'll pick up every week where we left off, and then at the end of the program, you'll have completed what has been completed of the rail trail in Concord. So we'll do a little certificate and everything else for that, and then hopefully next year, as the phases of completion keep happening, we'll be able to perpetuate it. Because the goal of the rail trail is it's actually 25 miles, goes all the way up to Fitchburg at the once it's all done. So I know a lot of the approvals in other towns have finally gotten passed, so they're going to start hammering down some of the rest of the path. So it could be something that we'll perpetuate over time.
Yeah. So that's going to be in the brochure upcoming. And then I've completed and turned in the 2019 Parks, Recreation, and Community Education Annual Report to the Town Administrator's Office. So that's in your packet as well. So that is pretty much the big stuff in my director's update.
Tim, anything on events?
Yeah, so we had the Ties and Tiaras dance this past weekend. We had 237 participants. It was catered by El Forno. Put a Facebook photo album up yesterday, I believe. So if anybody wants to check that out, it was a really, really cool event. So somebody went home with our giant 8-foot bear. It was everything that it normally is. With it's kind of like one of them winning Miss America.
Yes.
There's a lot of screaming and crying, and then a lot of running around and hugging. So it was the Ties and Tiara dance went really, really well this year. Coming up, we have the community egg hunt and candy scramble. So that'll be taking place on April 11th. That is at 300 King Street. We have the Easter Bunny show up. Girl Scout troops help us stuff and hide eggs all over the park. We do the 10 golden eggs, which are prizes that are donated by both PRC and some of the local businesses. That are some pretty big giveaways. We then also have a couple tons of candy that we dump onto the basketball court. And we have the different age divisions. We have 3 different basketball courts, 3 different age divisions, and we drop the ropes and all the kids run out and pick up as much candy as they can. The Community Townwide Cleanup Day will be on April 25th, 2020. As always, we are coming out of winter, so not that we've had much snow. So normally it's all melting out of the piles, but you can see it out there blowing around, and it's definitely a good time for everybody. The spirit of the event is if everybody could just walk out of their house and do the frontage of their property and surrounding area. We could get all the trash. That would be amazing. But if we could get a couple hundred people to join up with us and hit some of the more dirtier areas, parts that need help, that would be immensely helpful. There's a lot of debris and trash down along the train station and a couple of the other areas where some of the industry is coming in and out of town tend to take a beating. So just next time you're in your car, be a little more aware, and you'll see everything kind of laying out there, nip bottles by the thousands and all sorts of wrappers and McDonald's cups and everything else. So please, 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 if you can, put that date on your calendar now. Get out there at 8 a.m. Become a team leader. We have captains for the different streets and different areas. So, if you don't necessarily, want to go it alone, become a captain, get yourself a team. We're looking for business participation. If businesses can help us out and we can do some of the frontages there, that'd be great. Touch a Truck is on May 9th. So once again, we're going to be having Touch a Truck. Come on out. If you haven't been to Touch a Truck, we have all sorts of vehicles behind Town Hall. We do have one of the largest touch trucks in the area. It always is such a good event. Two other things that aren't on here. March 6th, if anybody's interested, we just put the tickets up yesterday, is the Littleton Community Night at the Lowell Riverhawks. It's a 7:15 start. They are playing Yukon. It is also Superhero Night. First 1,000 people in the door get a superhero bobblehead. If you're dressed as a superhero, there's all sorts of games and activities and giveaways all night. And then the Littleton Youth Hockey Organization will be doing a squirt game from 5 to 6 p.m. before the game. And we will, anybody in the community, any of the children who attend, after the third period concludes, they will be doing the Chuck a Puck cleanup crew. So the kids can go down on the ice and pick up all the hockey pucks that are thrown down. Chuck a Puck, they put a trash can in the middle of the ice, and people can throw these foam pucks out of the stands to try to hit the trash can and win the prize. So the kids can go down, run around on the ice, and help pick up all the pucks. So that is on March 6th, 7:15. It's a Friday night. And then we'll also be doing the Lowell Spinners game on June 27th, which is a Saturday. It is a 5 o'clock game. That is Celtics night. They have a couple Celtics who are going to be there doing autographs, meet and greets. The youth baseball, softball will be doing the Field of Dreams prior to the game. The 50-50 will be donated to the Park and Rec Department. And there's also some other stuff that we'll be doing at that game as well. So those tickets are $13, and $3 of your ticket gets donated directly back to Littleton youth baseball and softball organizations. So good way to have a good community night and come out and support some of our youth organizations in the area.
What was the date on that one again?
June 27th. So check our Facebook page, like us, follow us, go to the events page. Anything you want to know about any events coming up in Littleton are updated on that Facebook events page. And you can, let us know if you plan on coming, because if we know how many people are coming, we can plan all that much better.
All right, perfect. Anybody have anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Sean?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the meeting is adjourned.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Somebody asked